Good evening, everyone. Um, just an update. I'm sure a lot of you possibly heard already. There was an incident yesterday morning at around 5 o'clock. There was an elderly gentleman, one of our senior citizens, who was walking to Temple at around 5 a.m. He was approached by a black car. Two people got out and asked him for what he had, and he had to hand everything in. And that was it. The police was notified. And unfortunately, this is the aftermath of car thefts that we had in Great Neck. As we had a meeting here with Commissioner Pat Ryder and our county executive and legislature, I think it's obvious, according to them, that this is all because of the bail reform. It's unacceptable. We are not going to accept the rise of crime in our village or in our peninsula. We did ask, as all mayors, and sent an email and a letter to Senator Kaplan and Gina Salitti, who is our assemblywoman. And unfortunately, nothing has happened since. I know that they try to explain the law, but no amendment has been made to this law. As I mentioned before, when you have crime and nothing gets done, unfortunately, this will escalate. We all have to worry about our children, our safety of our senior citizens, and obviously ourselves. And I'm urging everyone to really send letters, emails, phone calls to our state representatives and telling them how disappointed we are with this law and that we need to do whatever it takes to make sure that we bring back safety to our community. So I condemn these kind of actions. I know that according to Commissioner, they believe that these are individuals who are coming from Newark, and they have been going rampant. A while ago, I think it was 2 weeks ago, there was an incident that there were three of them who came in with a loaded gun, and they injured a few police officers and damaged their cars. And two of those three individuals were released the next morning. This is unacceptable, and we should all stand against this. And I hold our representatives in state responsible for these acts, and I hope that they do the right thing for the constituents, not the party line. With that, I ask to start the agenda, please.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor. The first item on the agenda is a departmental report, Building Department April 2020 report. Mr. Haramis.
Building department received 46 applications. We issued 34 permits, did 90 inspections. We had 90 complaints. We issued 27 violations, notice of violations. 16 summonses were issued. We collected $63,586.55. There's a breakdown of the permits, as you can see. And that's all I have. Nothing to add.
Thank you.
The next item is the Department of Public Work April 2022 report. Mr. Massaro.
Question for, I believe it's Fairview. At the end of Fairview, when it hits Station Road, I believe that is Nassau County Road, and they said that after they're done doing Middle Neck Road, they're going to do that section, correct?
I don't know if they did, I didn't go down and check, they were supposed to come down also, they were contracted to do the sewer work for, on Pickett Road as well.
I don't know if they, I don't know.
I don't think.
They definitely have not
I
done the
saw
Fairview.
the milling machines at the yard, so they may go back up there and fix it, I'll ask the guy.
The intersection itself is Kings Point, though, right?
Intersection is.
The intersection is Kings Point.
Fairview and
They
Station.
just have a little.
No, Station is owned.
Station is county. No, I'm asking you which village.
From Northgate, from Northgate to Station belongs to the county, it's outside of our jurisdiction.
No, I know that.
No, but which village?
Kings Point.
Right.
Okay.
That intersection needs better signage. When you're coming from,
There is a sign that says.
no, when you're coming north in driveway, that's a, moving around, sorry. So, anyway, not my village.
The sign is probably down by Baker Hill, by the pump.
Baker and Station?
No, no, we have good signage at Baker Hill. When you're approaching, when you're going northbound on Station, and you get to Fairview, there's very little signage there that identifies that it's Fairview Avenue.
Or in the street sign itself.
Yeah, yeah.
Street.
Okay. Just of note that we're talking, they started doing the pouring the dirt this Saturday. Unfortunately, they didn't have all the material. It will be, according to them, be completed this Saturday. They will pour all the dirt and the entire Middle Neck Road, and hopefully soon after they will do the planting.
But just so you know, that anchor still hasn't connected all the lines from post to post, so I don't know if they wanna put dirt in there until anchor finishes what they have to do.
They didn't put it in the. I thought all the lines were put in the conduit.
The conduit is there, the wire is not there, he's afraid of vandalism, so he hasn't put it there.
Vandalism.
There's the sign.
So what are they supposed to do?
They're just waiting for the actual poles and the illuminate to come in, and then while they're putting those, they're going to pass wire as well.
We can't have the place not. Do they understand that we need to have dirt?
Yeah.
And
He's
can
just-
they do it afterwards?
I'll speak. Yeah, he just doesn't want to do it. When I asked him, he said, I'm not going to finish it till we have.
Understand, but he needs to understand what we need to pour the dirt and do the planting. We cannot keep this like this until July that he gets the lights.
I'll communicate to him.
Yes, please.
Also, too, Mayor, car hit, the
Yes,
post
I
by
saw.
Brokaw, it was green, I don't know if I called anchor on it, I don't know if they came in and removed it or.
Apparently they came in. They said it's still secure. That the bottom, the
Cement base.
cement.
They
Right.
just moved the cement,
But that's concerning that those cement blocks could actually move like that, because I assume.
No.
because they drilled the other post next to it, so it loosened up the soil. Put the other one right behind it, the new post behind it.
Right.
Excuse me,
Also, I noticed that they hit, that pole, the cement is actually much lower, so the
Right.
car would actually hit the pole instead of the cement, which is.
Right. So also the
north.
other thing we asked them to do is to put the blocks, the what do you call it, these bases a little bit away from the actual intersection, so when the cars don't know how to turn, they don't hit all these poles.
excuse me.
Yeah.
Did I hear you say that they going to do the work on Saturday?
Yes.
I thought we had a code which said
They're not doing
landscapers
any.
can't-
Right. So
Excuse
they're
me.
not using any machinery. They're just pouring the dirt.
Hope so.
I hadn't finished. I thought we had a code that landscapers could not work on Saturday and Sunday.
They cannot do any heavy machinery, but they can pour dirt. They can do planting. They can cut flowers. They can cut. They can trim the trees if they're not making noise.
Not
It's
to
also a day of
make
much less.
noise.
It's also a day of much less traffic on Middle Neck Road.
I
So
understand.
wouldn't it make
that.
sense to do that on Saturday?
So landscapers can work at homes on Saturday and
Is that what he
Sunday.
said?
Is that what I said, Jim?
I think we passed that law.
No.
months
We
ago.
passed a law that landscapers cannot use motorized equipment
and-
during Saturday and Sunday, right?
They can do other work.
If they want to come in and plant
Hold on.
flowers, they can plant flowers. I don't, as long as they're not disturbing the neighbors. And the only thing that is very disturbing is the blowers and the lawnmower. A lot of people actually do their own planting. Many people, plant flowers on Saturdays and Sundays.
Oh, that's hold on, that's the business.
Yeah, even it doesn't matter. As long as they're not making noise, they can come in. If they want to pour, I don't know, they want to put fertilizers. Doesn't-
And they will be removing all those stones and debris before they put the dirt in.
Well, they have to
Feedback.
do whatever it takes for them to plant. Okay. Next.
The next item on the agenda under old business, is presentation of a new facade for community center located at 187, 195 Steamboat Road. Any representative from the applicant? I think it's tabled as well. All right,
Okay.
it's tabled. The first item under new business is request for a parade for an organization called Iran for Social Justice. Is the applicant here?
I
Nope.
thought he said he's coming.
That's what I hear from him, and he just doesn't show
No.
up. Okay.
Didn't he already come?
No, he didn't come that last time. No, he was supposed to come the last time, 2 weeks ago, he didn't come.
But this is this is not until
August.
July.
August.
August.
Yeah, okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
The next item is a Great Nickel Alert Steamboat Road Site Improvement Presentation.
Good evening.
Hello.
My name's Kyle Mead. I'm with the fire department. My bosses have asked me to come by, and Steve told me to come by and mention some things to you regarding the plans that we have. The property 144, 146, 148 Steamboat Road. We've owned for some years now. It is a vacant lot with the exception of the single-family home that has been unoccupied for many years now. We are in the process of beginning a building project there, which hopefully will end with a maintenance structure, approximately 7,200 square feet. I believe you have some drawings of it. But that's all going to be done in phases. Right now, what we're looking for is phase one of the operation is going to involve demolition of the house, which we are not ready to apply for yet because we still have asbestos. We had an asbestos investigator there. When he gets back to us with a report, we have a couple of abatement companies that have given us estimates, and once we have the report from the asbestos investigator, then we'll move forward with the abatement. We still have a sewer disconnect to do, and we're still waiting on disconnect letters from the utilities. So we are, everything is underway in that respect. But at the advice of the superintendent, I figured I'd come by here tonight, and hopefully we can move forward. I will apprise you of the first phase of the operation is going to involve demolition of the house, removal of 29 trees. The trees have to be removed because the property is going to be graded about 6,000 yards, or is it 6 or 60,000? I think
1,000 cubic yards plus.
Yeah, I think it's about 6,000 cubic yards of earth have to be removed. We're going to be grading the one property to match the other property that we have next to it, so it's all one flat level property. So that's going to involve removal of a tremendous amount of soil, and the trees have to be removed because of that. At the rear of the property, there's about a 6-foot differential from where it is now to where it will be. In addition, the first phase will involve demolition of the house, grading of the property, installation of dry wells, installation of a retaining wall on the west and south elevations of the property. It'll be about 6 feet tall. You have drawings of all of this, by the way.
So you're going to be 6 feet higher?
No, we're going to be 6 foot lower than we are right now.
Okay, and then
At the rear
dry
of the
wells,
property.
Your neighbor is going to be 6 feet higher?
The neighbors will remain the same height, obviously. Our property will now drop, so there'll be a retaining wall.
So the
retaining
wall will
wall-
be in your property?
It'll be on our property and about 6 to 10 feet off of the property line onto our property.
Okay.
And the,
That property will be at the same grade as Steamboat Road.
Right, but then the grade would go up in the back, which is on the south side, right? The south.
yes,
the south will be going-
the south side of the property will be, I think it's about an 11-foot differential from the street to the height of the property now, but we're not grading it level all the way back. We're matching the grade of the property next to it, so it will only be about a 6-foot retaining wall as
Okay.
opposed to 11 feet. And the last phase of that operation, after the dry well installation, will be the planting of the trees on the south side and the west elevation. So we're removing 29 trees, some of which I think Steve will attest are not really trees, they're pretty much saplings.
They listed them anyway.
The engineer, H2M, who you use also, he listed on the plans that we submitted the diameter of all the trees. So several of them are saplings, they're not trees, but we counted all of them, so there's 29 that we're removing, and we'll be replacing 70.
70?
We'll be installing 70 trees, yes.
Nice.
Abraham, if you put the next pictures.
Leland cypress, it should be.
Oh, so you-
a
so-
big cover.
Actually, on that picture right there, the one that you just passed,
Nice trees.
excuse me if I walk over here, all of these are the trees that will be installed
Replace
all along the
Leland
west
cypress.
and south.
I mean, we usually
Other
don't
replacement
consider
trees.
those trees. I think
The
they're trees,
hedges.
but, yeah,
you know.
but, and they are going to be the ones that are going to be about 20, 30 feet high.
They will grow pretty tall. The ones that we have down there now at the front of the property next door are, what would you say, Will, 15, 18 feet
And
already?
they've been pruned several times.
Yeah, they've been cut down several times, and they're 15 or 18 feet tall as they are right now.
And what is, you want, do you have the plans?
There is a
Yeah,
drawing.
yeah, you want the elevations?
Is that the final plan or just a?
No, no, no. Well, the plans for phase one of the operation, these are the final plans. But there is a picture of the building. There you go.
That's going to be,
The
you haven't
maintenance
applied for the building permit.
We have not applied for the building permit. We're nowhere near ready to build that. Phase one is just leveling the property, removing the single-family dwelling, installing the retaining wall, installing the drainage, and the bushes.
So that's why they're before this board, because in order to get the demo permit, without a building permit. they have
Right,
to be
so I
approved by
understand, the only thing is what's gonna be after you plant all those stones, what's gonna be in the middle?
Pretty much bare ground right now.
So you're gonna leave it as bare ground?
Yeah, well,
In
there's
between right there?
gonna be crushed stone. There's going to be blend on it.
A permeable surface.
That's what's there now, it's just bare ground now.
It's a house there, though,
No,
right?
The house is tucked,
The house is all the same.
the house is tucked in the back, and it's abandoned and, well, not abandoned, but it's vacant and dilapidated for many years now.
How large is the proposed building?
So that's what it's gonna look like after you're done, right? Go back to the previous picture? No? Yeah, this one. So,
That's the
oh,
backyard.
that's the back
That's
of
the
it.
back view, yes. That's the rear of the structure.
Is that where you're gonna do your training?
The concrete pad that you see closest to you here in this corner would be where the red trailer, I don't know if you've driven down Steamboat Road, that red trailer simulator, that will live on that concrete pad. And there's another black trailer that's next to it, that's a driving simulator, that will live next to it. And that's one of the reasons why we're putting all of the bushes along those two perimeters, is that it'll abate any noise. The retaining wall will bring it about halfway up that trailer, and then the trees on top of that, the neighbors shouldn't be bothered as they are now by the height of the thing and the visibility.
When do you think you're gonna be able to start building?
Mr. Chairman?
Well, we would like to have initiated phase one already, but it, due to different issues monetarily, we've had to postpone it till now. We are putting out the bid at this point and giving final pricing.
Just for,
I tell you, the reason I'm asking, I just wanna know how long that place is going to stay in that state. I know you're saying that it's like that now. Is there anything we can do to make it look a little bit better until, I mean, if it's gonna be a year or two?
I think
if it's
doing
gonna
what
be a couple
we're
of
going
months-
to do is going to make it look considerably better than it is now.
No, instead of gravel,
And
can we
I
do,
believe that a lot of the view of the property is obstructed by the Leland cypress that we've already planted in the front. You have a huge hedgerow across the front of the entire property
so
at
you,
this point.
so you're not,
and up
because
the
here I
side
don't
and
see
in
any
the
of it.
back. So until we actually excavate, and at that point,
I don't think the plan is to remove the cypress trees now at all.
no, I'm
In-
saying
in the
in
front.
the.
So
until
it
you-
is being covered, because I
Yes.
don't see it here. So you have the cypress tree.
It's all screened.
They're
Screening.
across the
Okay,
front of the
good.
property
Alright,
now.
That's all I
We
want.
had already planted 50 or 60 on our own for privacy and to be a good
Right.
neighbor to
Okay.
the community.
Yeah, those will not be removed in the first phase of the operation.
Okay.
The one question I have is, whenever I pass by, I always see gravel and mud after it rains really hard, all comes down into the street. Can you do something about it so it doesn't, like, the
That-
sidewalk and the rock?
The drainage is part of phase one. If you look at the plans, there's, what did it turn out to be, Will? 16 or 18 dry wells that are being installed?
Quite a few.
There are a lot of dry wells being
And
installed.
they're also going to change that angle.
Yeah, the pitch is a lot more severe now than it will be,
It'll be a lot more
yes.
friendly for that.
And there'll be considerably more drainage on the property now.
Okay. Any question? Okay. Peter?
That's all?
So we voted on
something?
Well, not to my knowledge, there's no application.
There is an
Well, are you-
application for tree removal.
Is there, so just for the tree removals, the current application?
And demolition.
Well, we're going to be applying for the demolition permit, we just haven't satisfied all of
Yeah.
the obligations.
Yeah, I was gonna say, you indicated before that you're still waiting for certain reports to come in, so it wasn't clear to me that you're currently applying for a demo permit.
We are not, because we're not eligible to apply for it. I think what Steve was saying was that it would be to our benefit to come here and present all of this to you, so that when we do satisfy the requirements for the demolition permit, then we can apply for it and maybe not have to wait for another month.
So there is a request for the demo permit at this time, even though you don't necessarily plan on starting the demolition?
We can't start it until we satisfy the requirements, correct?
Okay, but does the department anticipate then that when the criteria are met, even though you may not have the building plan in place, you want to be able to issue the demo permit? So then there are, it's an application then before you, I think, for two things. First, to remove the trees, which it is represented will be replaced by considerably more trees. And secondly, ordinarily, a demo permit is not issued till there is a building plan in place that's been approved for construction, a building permit. But I think they're asking for advance permission for the building department to issue the demo permit at such time as the conditions for the demo permit are met, other than the grant of a building permit.
Okay.
Is there a motion to approve both those things? Moved by the mayor, seconded by trustee Hope. Any discussion on that motion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Unanimous.
All right. Good luck, guys.
Gentlemen, thank you very much.
We'll
Ma'am?
keep you apprised every bit of it.
Thank you.
See you soon, Steve.
I'll call you tomorrow.
Yes, very good. I'll be in touch. Take care, Lou.
Oh, we'll give it back. We'll be all right.
Right now.
They're replanting 70.
Yeah, provided. So I want to make sure that he knows, and I want to know how he responds. It's all right. I'll find out soon. I'll get a letter tomorrow, and I get an email tomorrow saying about his. Yeah, I'll find out. Don't worry. I'll find out. It's just I want to know if he's being
Takes a
persistent
while
or
to
is just
just
picking
follow
on
the
certain people. So. Let's see. Okay, next.
The next item is a tax cert that we have for the property located at 683 Middle Neck Road, owned by JFJ Realty LLC. The site is almost 0.7 acre. It's constructed in 1956. They have 8 years of tax cert that they brought up, years from 2015 through 2022. They're requesting a refund of almost $7,000 with a final assessment of 3.1 for year 2023. It's been negotiated by Tom Donato's office. They would like to settle for a refund of $3,000 and a final assessed value of $3.5 million for the year 2023.
With a 3-year moratorium on any further tax certiorari proceedings.
Correct. So it goes both ways. That means we are not going to raise the assessed value for 3 years more than 3.5, and they cannot bring any tax cert against the village for 3 years.
Do you have the property to it? Yeah.
It's Rainbow.
Raindew?
Raindew.
Just Raindew or anything else?
The Raindew, and it's the whole building.
Mike's building.
Oh, Mikey Roosh owns it?
Yeah.
That's actually his office.
That's it? All right. Okay.
Is there a motion to approve the settlement?
I'll make the motion.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Unanimous.
The next item is the appointment of new deputy clerk, Maria Garcia. The appointment will take effect if the board approves such a candidate, and the appointment is good through July 4th when we need a new appointment.
Okay. So this is going to be on about a month.
month and a half.
You're filling a vacancy in the
All right,
official
that's
year,
fine.
for the
That's all
balance
right.
of the official year, and
That's
then there'll
okay.
be a need for a reappointment.
Okay.
When is she starting?
First, you said?
Do we have a
May,
resident?
May 31st.
Is there a resident? That's a different one.
No, no.
Yeah, okay. Okay, okay.
And when is the anticipated start date, Abraham?
May 31st.
May 31st, and your official year begins in July, right?
First Monday in July,
Okay.
regardless of any
So
holidays.
the motion typically would be to appoint her effective that date, or such date as you receive the approval from the Civil Service Commission, whichever date is later.
Right. This is not a civil service.
It is.
It's,
It is civil
it
service.
is civil service, but it is classified as exempt, as I recall.
Oh,
Correct.
okay.
It's the exempt position. It's not from the list.
Okay.
But it is still
And it's not
one
compet-
that,
it's not a competitive.
not a competitive,
Okay.
it's an at-will appointment for a term of office, but the paperwork still has to get processed
it.
through civil service.
Okay. Good. I'll move.
Moved and seconded, all in favor? Unanimous.
The next item is a request for approving a summer hours for the Village Hall employees. Working hours during the year is usually 8:30 through 4:30. The request is to shorten the Fridays by 90 minutes to 3 o'clock on Fridays. To compensate for it, employees will take a 45 minutes break instead of a 1 hour break Monday through Thursday, and 30 minutes break on Fridays. I would request that if the board can approve, at least one employee shall remain in the Village Hall to keep the Village Hall open through 4:30.
But I remember last year every year we discussed this, and there's always a worry about having only one individual, just for security reasons.
Yeah.
Is that concern anybody, or just I'm concerned?
Well, I mean, if someone is collecting funds, it might be, just safer to have.
No,
two
I'm just
people
worried
there.
about, trip and fall.
Well,
I don't know, it's anything. Just be. I
Okay,
mean,
so
again,
then
people stay in their homes by themselves also. I don't know. To me, just.
the option is to close it exactly at 3 o'clock with nobody here, or at least with 2 employees. But given like we have only 8 employees, if 2 of them has to stay here and 6 other people go home, that just
Do we need to have anyone stay back?
If you wanna keep the Village Hall open till 4:30.
right, definitely on the last day of collection, which is July 1st, which is Friday this year. Definitely that day I
So
would like
maybe
to
on
keep.
that day we can have 2 people?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. I'm okay with that.
Is there a motion to approve the summer hours as described by the village clerk?
So moved.
Moved and seconded, all in favor say aye.
All right.
Unanimous.
Thank you. The next item is a correction to the village tax roll for property located at 106 Steamboat Road.
I'm sorry. Yes, but go ahead. I'll tell you that.
The exempt application was submitted on time to the village, as you could see on the stamp. I do not have this stamp on this application, but this is what was given to Mr. Donato. Unfortunately, it was missed during the process of the application. Currently, their property is on the tax roll. I spoke to Mr. Donato, and he sent in the certificate to application for a correction to the village tax, and he approved it. It has to be approved by the board as well. The total amount of taxes to be collected is $1,518.54 from the owner of this property located at 106 Steamboat Road.
So we are collecting tax, or are we giving that back? It was collected.
It was not collected. The warrant is June 1st, so we cannot collect before that. It's just to correct it, so we don't even send a tax bill.
Got it.
Is there a motion to correct the assessment?
So moved.
Moved and seconded by the deputy mayor. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it unanimously.
Go on and discuss the local law.
Yes, Mayor, there are, on the agenda, there's a scheduling of a hearing for a local law, but I understand that there may be a request to actually schedule two local laws, the first of which is a local law for residence C districts that would allow for a retaining wall as an accessory structure to be closer than 3 feet to the property line. The building department initially expressed some reservations about the retaining wall being that close for fear that there would be a loss of soil from one property to the next. The compromise that we've achieved in drafting this legislation provides that the superintendent of buildings may permit the retaining wall closer than 3 feet distant from the lot line, which would otherwise be prohibited, if the superintendent is persuaded by the applicant that adequate arrangements have been made to retain soil on the same lot in the event of a breach of the retaining wall. So with that qualifier, which the superintendent believes may make the situation safe and make
Why is
all-
this only Zone C, not Zone B, Zone A, Zone AA, and other
Tighter
zones?
properties?
At the time the request was made for the local law, it was,
I think it should be for all the zones.
Actually,
We can
I
certainly do
also have a
that.
question, Steve, before you go into it. Wouldn't the retaining wall, by its nature, retain soil onto the property?
Right.
if
You
there's
just
a
need to
breach
make
in the retaining wall, the soil can then spill over onto the adjoining property as opposed to the
And if there's no
owner's own
retaining
property.
wall, if there's no retaining wall,
Well, if the retaining wall is more than 3 feet away from the property line, as the problem was explained to me, the retaining wall was designed that if the retaining wall breaches and then the soil spills over the wall, it will still land on the homeowner's own property if that retaining wall is at least 3 feet away from the property line. This local law would say, okay, you can go right up to the property line, but then you have to persuade us that there's some safe mechanism that if the retaining wall breaches, the soil isn't going to go onto your
When
next
you're
door
talking
neighbor.
about retaining
the-
wall
or the-
breaches, meaning the retaining wall breaks,
Breaks,
I'm going to
collapses.
But
So
modern,
the whole reason why, the height of the wall, whatever height you go up, you're supposed to be off the property line, because you have to have tie backs to hold the wall up in place.
Mhm.
So it's not just a stackable wall that could fall over, so it has to have tie backs. You
but
have
those
to put the
tiebacks go back onto your own property.
onto your own property.
Yes.
So if you have something that's to your neighbor's property, right on the property line, half the time the people don't, their property could be lower, putting the retaining wall up. You can't put tiebacks on your neighbor's property.
No.
You have to get permit, but trust me, Bart, I've seen it in every situation in this village, both ways. And I've seen walls
So you're
where they
talking,
were
you're
built
basically
on the
talking about a
property line
retaining,
that actually
you're
collapsed.
basically talking about a retaining wall where your neighbor's property is higher than yours. Where the tiebacks would have to go onto their property. That's where you would need a 3-foot distance. But if your property is higher than your neighbor's property, obviously the tiebacks would go back onto your own property.
Correct,
Okay.
correct.
right, so the other thing, I think it should be for, I don't know why it's only Zone C. I don't want to go back. I don't want to go back and start doing Zone A, B, and AA. I think it should be all the zones. That's one. And I think the other thing I wanted to find out, one of the reasons, we just had the fire department telling us about what they're going to do. They're going to flatten the,
They're leveling.
they're leveling it. And that is going to significantly lessen the amount of debris that comes to the sidewalk. So when you have a house that is sitting on a hill, and they go ahead and put a retaining wall here, and this is a neighbor house, they put a retaining wall here, you're going to prevent
That's
getting
what I
all
just said.
that, right,
If
exactly.
if your property is higher than your neighbor's, yes.
Right.
But what's, this, I think this local law pertains to when your neighbor's house is higher than yours, and you wanna put a retaining wall up. In that instance,
Some of the properties run,
Mhm.
where your property could be higher
here and in the back.
as it goes down, I have a situation now, I have a 95-foot retaining wall that's, comes out of the ground this much and it comes up to 4 feet, almost 5 feet. And it runs right along the property line, now there's an issue because the wall's crumbling. Whose wall is it? Who retains
Well,
it?
who puts, so then whose wall is it? It's going to be the answer that
This
who
was built-
puts it up.
It was built when the house was built 100 years ago. Nobody knows. Gotta be on
But
the survey.
I understand, but
Yeah,
now
so
that we're doing
it's
the
on the
building, we
property
need
line,
to know
that's the
who's
issue.
putting the retaining wall.
Yeah, the survey doesn't say whose property it is.
No.
They never do.
So
They
it's
don't
right
say whose
on the
fence it
pro-
is.
It's
They
right
don't
on
say.
the property
Yeah.
line, so now they're gonna put the wall back on the property line, and it became an issue, because we have to look into,
To who owns it?
correct.
But
Because if I
just
let you-
because of that, are we going to not allow people to put on their property line because we worried
No, I
in
think
100 years
basically-
from now?
I think basically what Steve is saying is, let it come to the building department. They'll take a look at it, and if it works, it works.
And then case by case, basically.
It's case by case, because you can't make it abroad where it's just gonna be 3 feet off.
You see,
the
one
property
of the things I have an
Right to the
issue
property.
with this case by case is because it can be perceived as what's good for him may not good for this guy, and then there's going to be a lot of back and forth. Oh, you allowed this guy to do it, why not me? And then you have to come and explain, and it's like, hey, you can explain it differently. And it depends who's going to be the superintendent, right? 50 years from now, someone's going to say, hey, I don't like this guy, I'm not going to let him build. He's going to build. We've had that before.
But every property is different. It has different characteristics.
I understand. So I think it has to be in a way that, first of all, if you're putting a retaining wall, the retaining wall must, you cannot, it was a few weeks ago, we had this gentleman who came in and stacked up some stones on top of each other that water and dirt would just go through it. Obviously, that's not a retaining wall. That, I don't know what the heck you call that. You call that stacked up.
A mess.
Okay. But I don't know if there is a word for it that you can put in the code. But if
Beaver
you
dam.
what?
Beaver dam.
Right.
We talked
Beaver
about
dam. But if you're going to have a proper placement of these bricks that are used for retaining wall, and they usually tilt backwards. I mean, if this is the higher area, it goes back a little bit, right? It doesn't go up this way. It pushes back a little bit as it's going up.
But this
I-
be tied. You have to have tiebacks.
But you have to have tiebacks.
All right, fine. So ask for tiebacks. So you just say if it has tiebacks, then it's okay.
If your property is lower than your neighbor's, you can't put tiebacks because
Physically,
Their
you
property is
can't,
falling on yours.
yeah.
his.
So why
So you,
can't
it's
ask them to put the
so for example, in this case,
It
and
has
then
to,
on this,
it has to go according to the topography of the
Right.
particular application.
Correct.
so
And
if,
and everyone is different. Every topography is different.
so you're
Every
saying,
house, every
so
case.
let's say I live next to this guy, next to Bart, and my property is higher. So if I want to put a dry, I'm not, I keep saying dry well, retaining wall, I can't do it. But if he wants to put a retaining wall, he can. Right?
He's not gonna need a
Dig up your
retaining wall. What does he
property.
need a retaining wall for? You need a retaining wall to keep your soil on your property.
No,
not
but if
him.
I don't have it, if I'm on a hill, all my water is going to run off to his house.
But by code and by law, your wall.
By code and law, it's been like that.
I
But Steve,
understand,
I bought the house
but
that
you're
way.
not doing any construction. Once you do construction.
When you touch
the
it, it's
codes,
yours.
the codes kick in. You don't touch it, it is. It's
So if I don't touch it, the dirt and water can run off. The moment I build my house, I have to put a drywall.
Yep,
But I can put a drywall at the property line.
you can't put a drywall, you're talking
Why
about
not?
retaining wall.
Retaining wall. The
Because-
retaining wall I can.
Because it depends on the height of the grade.
Right. Let's say
So
we're
you might
talking
have
about
to
3
step-
feet.
If you have a steep hill, you might have to step it back and do step retaining walls, like the fire department just said.
Right.
Because they're going higher than 3 feet, they have to step it back, so they're
But,
gonna
okay,
give you 10 feet off
I'm
the
talking
property.
about 3 feet. Up to 3 feet. You don't have to step it back. Can you go at the property line?
Every situation is different, it depends. It really depends on every situation is,
I need you to have. So the reason I'm asking again, I'm not trying to.
Can you differentiate by calling one the subservient property?
I think you gotta kinda
versus-
look at it like a fence. You can't put a fence on the
I
property.
mean, we had
line.
two
Fence
women
gotta
go
be
through
on
this
your
with us,
property.
right?
Yeah.
On your
Go
property.
through that.
You call, if you
Right,
call
but
the properties.
I'm not talking again. You can be 6 inches off the property line. 3 feet. If you have a 50 by 100,
Then the
and you go
subservience
3 feet,
would
3 feet,
end
3
at that
feet, you have
point.
nothing left. What are you going to do?
It
Just
would switch. It would switch.
it's going to become like a.
I think the code has to be drafted in a certain way that describes the topography, so that way it at least takes it out of capriciousness of somebody who might be
Right.
sitting in
It
that
has
seat in
to
the future.
be, it has to explain. I don't think it's
The
sufficient to
purpose.
say it can be done, but the superintendent has to okay it, because the
Okay.
superintendent can say, nah, not for you. I'm not saying you're gonna say that, but listen,
Probably has to be written by an engineer so that it.
We consulted with H2M on this, and this was their recommendation.
This was their recommendation.
that it has to go to you.
Well, only because,
The topography is so different on every dwelling.
and it varies, the topography can vary on the property line between two adjoining parcels.
Can you say, as long as it, an engineering company put a stamp of approval?
Yes, although that was deemed the equivalent of the building superintendent. That,
Yes and no,
Right.
because you can have, let's say they go to H2M, H2M says this is okay.
Right.
Is that okay?
So
Because
if their
then I tell you
engineer-
that
if
it,
their engineer stamps it with the seal and all,
right.
you guys approve it. Then I
No,
have a
no,
problem.
but listen, I tell you
Now
why.
somebody has to retain an engineer.
What?
Now somebody has to retain an
No,
engineer.
if he says no, for example,
Oh, it
then
could be
they have
override.
to be
It could
able to
override.
say, I'm gonna get my engineer, and my engineer is gonna put a stamp of approval, and then that should be okay. I think that way you're going to take that, you don't want anyone to come and accuse you of anything,
Of course.
right? So if we go ahead and say, hey, you know what? He said no, this is his reason. The engineer can come and say, no, for this reason and this reason we can't. Maybe we can,
Well-
I don't know, put sticks in it and this and
I
that.
I just want to be clear as to what it is I'm writing, so I'm not debating it, I'm just inquiring.
Okay.
Which is, what will that other engineer be certifying to? Clearly, anything can be constructed, but the issue that I thought I understood from the superintendent was a concern about the wall being breached with soil and going from one property to another. So would the engineer be certifying that that's deemed
the
adequate?
way that they're
Right.
going to build this, it's going to be almost impossible to, I don't know, they may ask to put sticks in it, or I don't know what they
No,
call
they
it.
don't. They use
The
rebar.
nails?
They stake it.
Stake it, right.
So what would the certification language be saying, Steve, that you would be satisfied with? That the construction of this retaining wall will do X or won't do X? And what is X?
Yes.
Yeah, that didn't advance
Yes.
the situation. That
So,
as proposed to be built, the retaining wall will not,
collapse
No,
Will not-
no, will not be,
breach,
will not
collapse,
cause,
or cause harm.
will not cause harm
Or
to
damage.
the
Jason property.
adjacent property, the subservient property. Due to runoff.
okay,
Be serious.
Or collapse.
okay.
They can't put collapse, because obviously it's not
It's
supposed
good
to
enough that
collapse.
it's not
Will
good.
not represent an unreasonable hazard to the subservient adjacent property.
Yes.
But I think
Okay.
it should be up to 3 feet though. It shouldn't be a
Right,
retaining
right,
wall
right,
that's
exactly,
5
right.
feet.
No, you can't, then, no, then it becomes obtrusive, because then you can block the view of the other. I mean, they may actually, unless the neighboring, I don't know if you wanna say that, because I think we had a case on Steamboat Road that when they built that retaining wall, which is like, I don't know how many feet, 30, 20 feet, 15 feet, you know which one I'm talking about? The one, the,
One o'clock in the rain?
no, it's the one, Hushang's building.
Oh, the one that was the
Corner of
sewer.
George Street.
Is this going, right, so they built right next to,
First, townhouse is in Great Neck.
right, so that townhouse, they put a retaining wall that is very, it's a very tall retaining wall that is almost, I think it's
The height.
on the property line.
It's on the property.
What?
It was on the property.
It is on,
That's
it
why
wasn't,
they
it is,
complained.
it still is.
well,
So that is going to be a little bit obnoxious to the neighbor. You don't want it to be that close. I think it should be,
what are you
if
reading
it's
from?
that high, it should be set back, or at least be stepped back. But if it's 3 feet, 32 inches, 36 inches, whatever you wanna call it, I think
what
that
section
should be
number is
enough. That it's not a,
Up to 3 feet.
Up to 3.
Anything higher.
Section
Right.
There was a
381.
situation where another one was built
2016.
5 feet, they backfilled it, and during the storm,
Okay,
the whole
section
wall collapsed.
381,
And I have
sorry.
pictures of it.
did it have tieback, or it wasn't tieback?
31H.
Ah.
Okay.
Was it just stacked up brick, or
Stack stone.
stone?
Yes.
and they didn't stake it. Nothing.
Was,
Okay.
was it on a slope, did you say?
So one,
It's got
the one street
the service
polo
would say
is
block
low,
the dams are
the one behind
Right.
it, on the Fountain Street Road,
But again, who's gonna be making that decision?
Crampton?
It's gonna be the village superintendent.
is much higher.
That's where it should be.
So the backyard,
Say it again,
they
Bart?
filled it in because they want the swing.
Bart was,
kids.
the deputy mayor was showing that there are other village codes that try to address this in greater detail, describing the type of retaining walls that would be permitted within that closer proximity. With that said, it still leaves some area for interpretation for either an outside engineer or the in-house superintendent of buildings to say, you've constructed it in a way in which we deem that this will not present an unreasonable hazard to your adjoining property. But it will still leave some interpretation.
Right, I understand. I don't think there's any law that doesn't leave
Right.
any interpretation to the building inspector, but it shouldn't be like, it can be done only if, and there's
Do-
nothing else.
Do you want to leave it with greater detail of the criteria, but the decision to the superintendent? Do you want an appellate process that would go to an outside engineer, the village engineer?
I think if the village engineer okays it,
The village engineer, okay.
right, unless, right, if the village engineer okays it. If you okay it, then it's okay, but if the superintendent okays it, then it's fine. But if there isn't, then someone should be able to appeal. They
So
should have someone to
if the village
appeal it to,
superintendent,
not us.
so if the superintendent of buildings is not satisfied with the proposed structure, then
The village engineer must
he has to
approve.
send it over to the village engineer. So a denial would, an approval could be issued by the superintendent. A denial would have to come from the outside village engineer.
Right. I think that, right? You feel yeah.
But if you are talking about the location of the retaining wall or how to build the retaining wall. If somebody wants to build a retaining wall, he's gonna submit a plan to the building department. Building department must say, no, you have to put a rebar, or you have to do these things. So that's with the building department. But if the location of the retaining wall, you got nothing to do with the building department. You make a code, where do you want it? It should be up to 3 feet to the property.
So that's what I thought we were saying, but my understanding is that you're saying even with the rebar, there are situations, am I correct, that it may still collapse?
It could, it could, depending on what's the driving force, we don't know. Because some of these property, let's just use a sloped property where it's very high and all the water's around. If you get another microburst and you're getting flooding or something and this water's traveling down, we're gonna knock the wall right out. We don't know.
But Mayor, you're correct that the problem emanated from not the materials or the structure of retaining walls. The code currently prohibits that any retaining wall be built
Right.
closer than 3 feet from the property line. You indicated a desire to allow a retaining wall to be closer than 3 feet to the property line, and the building department was saying that creates the hazard that if it's further than 3 feet and the wall is breached, the soil still runs onto the same owner's property. If it's at the property line and the wall is breached, it spills over to an adjoining property. So I think it was that distance issue that sparked this discussion. Now, what I'm now hearing, I think, is that you can describe both a method of construction, but really more particularly on the geography, you can go closer than 3 feet if the superintendent of buildings is persuaded that something's been done to assure a
That
very
there's not
low
gonna be a-
likelihood of spillover. And if he approves it, fine. If he disapproves it, the disapproval would have to come from the village engineer. Okay, I will.
I think I'm clear. I don't know if anyone else wants to make a comment. It seems, I don't know, you wanted to say something, Morris?
My understanding was you are talking about the location of it.
Right, but
Yes.
right now,
Yes.
under any circumstances, even if you go ahead and put 8 feet deep concrete,
Yes.
you cannot go closer than 3 feet.
Yes, right now.
But what we're saying now is that yes, you can go closer than 3 feet, but the structure has to be such that the building department would say that yes, it's safe enough. For example, so if you go ahead and want to build something that is on the property line, or let's say 2 feet away from the property line, you must make sure that you have either rebar or you have tie back or you have something else.
Mr. Mayor, we built 9 feet wall for foundation that holding the whole dirt is not gonna collapse. If you put a footing and a foundation and rebar, there is no way that is gonna collapse, or even
I don't, I'm not a,
if you holding the whole foundation, how you cannot hold the little dirt? Please, you are supposed to say where the retaining wall go. The construction of retaining wall is between the engineer, architect, and the building department. He's gonna draw a plan, how I'm gonna put my retaining wall. They're still gonna look at it, tell him, no, it's not good, you need rebar. If the engineer drawing a house, yes, your foundation, your home, you know how much dirt in the outside?
But all due respect, Mark, a foundation has rebar in it.
Yes.
It's a 10, 12-inch thick
Fine.
poured concrete
Yes.
with rebar.
Yes.
You're talking about retaining walls that people want to use stackable stones or railroad ties.
If you don't
which-
like it, you deny it. But the location is a location. That's the issue.
I understand,
You
I
need
understand.
a-
I apologize, Mayor, but because I have to draft it, I need to understand it better. What I think I'm hearing the superintendent say is that you could have different proposed construction depending on the location. So he wants to be able to say, if you're gonna be right up at the property line, then I need to be able to tell
So
you,
if they-
you
right,
need
so
a
if they
different
come in
kind of
and say,
construction.
I'm going to use, I'm asking you a question. If they come in and say, we're going to use the same material that we used to put the foundation.
So you're doing a
E-
poured-
11,
Yeah.
you know, 10 inches of concrete going down 2 feet, and then we're going to put it. Then,
Right, if you're on a footing and you have rebar and everything else, fine.
okay, so there we go. So as long as it's, as long as the engineering part of it makes sense, the location can be at the.
For the stackable wall, God bless you.
So you can
Yes,
say no,
but-
you can say whatever it is. You can say this is okay with stackable. Otherwise, you have to put a, I don't know,
But the
concrete wall.
construction requirements the superintendent imposes will vary with the location.
Yes. Okay. Good.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm okay with that.
All right.
Good.
Is,
And also, there was another one.
Sorry, I'm sorry to interrupt you. This is exactly the case that we have. That's what we hear tonight, so you can hear it. Our property is basically, lower than the
Oh,
property.
I know. So let us just finish. We haven't even voted for you. Let's get to that. And I think there was another one with the 75%.
yes, there is, but the item on the agenda was whether or not we want to schedule a public hearing on this proposed local law, or do you want to hold off scheduling the public hearing till I've circulated a draft that meets with your satisfaction?
I think we can schedule it, and then we'll see. If not,
Very good, sir.
We can just postpone it again.
Okay, and because it will go to all residential districts, I have to look, I don't know the answer right now, whether or not that would have to then go to the County Planning Commission as affecting all, a zone change in effect for all districts, all residential districts.
Okay.
I'll have to look at that. In the meantime, though, if you want to schedule the public hearing, we can do that.
I would say let's schedule it for all zones.
Okay.
And then if
All
we-
zones or all residential zones?
all residential zones.
Right, okay.
Obviously, other ones I think
Right,
will come
right.
the other way.
And for what date?
Can we do it in
Which is
May-
May
when is the next
31st?
time? May 31st? No.
June 7th. June 2nd or 7th?
7.
7,
Yep.
June 7 at 7:45. And is there a motion to schedule a public hearing on June 7th at 7:45 PM for a proposed local law that will alter the 3-foot restriction on the accessory structure of a retaining wall? Moved and seconded, moved by trustee Kashi and seconded by, who seconded it? I'm sorry. Oh,
Mendelson.
trustee Mendelson. And any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous. Now, there is a second local law
Yeah.
discussion.
Yeah. What do you want to say?
No, I thought you were going to take public comment.
Well,
We're just
not-
scheduling the
we're
public hearing. We're not holding it,
We're
right?
not.
There was discussion of also drafting a proposed local law to expressly allow for a residential second floor in all residential zones to match the footprint of the first floor and eliminate the requirement currently in the code for a 2-foot setback of a second floor from the vertical plane of the first floor.
Right.
Is there a motion to schedule that public hearing for June 7th at 7:45? Or, Abraham, do you want that at 8 o'clock or at 8 PM?
So what happened in past, they didn't want the houses to all look the same. So what they did, they said the first floor can have X amount of footprint. The second floor has to be 75% of the first floor. Because they didn't.
So that it doesn't look like a box.
Right. So what happened, we said instead of having a wider first floor, we actually changed this code. I don't know if you guys remember. And we said, okay, we're going to make the first floor a little bit slimmer, and then we're going to have the second floor to have the same setback. I mean, same footprint. Why? Because when you do this, it causes all these other issues. Some people say it can leak, or it's not going to be as nice. Right. So then, but what happened, I think, after we passed that local law, we did not address the setback, which was in another place. So right now, we changed the local law saying that the first floor and second floor can have the same footprint, but we never took out that 2 feet setback. So now we have a 2 feet setback, but we are saying that it's the same size. So it doesn't really make sense. So we have to go and say it's the same footprint, no setback. What we can do for it not to look like a box, we have I think we have all these
No, but you have.
breaks.
Yeah, you have breaks.
We have breaks, and also you can use different material. You can use a belt. You can use all
No,
these
that's much
windows,
better.
window treatment. I think it looks much better. I don't like these houses looking. Yeah, but the thing is now they all look like that. For a while.
If you go to Saddle Rock, they have beautiful houses, but they're all.
Yeah, they look like a box. Okay, but we don't want that.
They're nice.
Yeah,
They're very attractive.
right.
They don't even have pitch roofs.
Many of them don't have big roof.
Yeah.
Okay.
Is there a motion to set the public hearing for June 7th at 8 p.m.?
I move.
Moved by the mayor, seconded by trustee Hope. All in favor?
All right.
Unanimous. And I think that takes us, Abraham, to minutes.
Yeah, so I think they're on the agenda
They have a comment regarding the public hearing that you just,
that we're setting. Okay, you can make a comment. Come to the podium, please. Are we done with the
basically the whole agenda is done.
agenda?
Hi, my name is Elena Lavian. I brought some pictures. I don't know if that would help to understand our property. What you were saying exactly is what's happening with us. Our property is lower than the property we are on the border of Kings Point and Village. So
What's your address again?
2 Merrill Lane, off
Okay.
of Potter's Lane. So our property basically sits lower than the property on the back, which is a new construction going on. And the property to our right sits lower.
So the one is higher than it's you, then another one which is lower
Correct.
than yours. Okay.
Correct. So the property next to us did a retaining wall, had to go 2 level, and then they put on the property line, and they put its fence on the property line as well, just behind it.
This is the one that is lower than yours.
This is the one that's lower on us.
Okay.
So the new property in the back, the new construction, it's all dirt. And there is, right now, we have a wooden fence that's all rotted.
That's on your property or their property?
This is on our property.
Uh-huh.
Just so they understand, the property behind you is in Kings Point.
Correct. Correct, exactly. So,
And the property behind it has a
That's railroad.
right, there are 4 steps, about 3 or 4 steps going up from our property to the back property. So, we would like.
What is this?
This is
the new-
basically the neighbor.
This
to
is the one that is.
That is lower. This
That
is
is-
the one that's lower, and
Number 4.
that's number 4, correct.
You really think I know which one number they all look like?
So we are on the. So we.
Looking at
Louis.
the house, looking at the house, it's the house.
This is number 4.
So we're not,
That's.
we are on
yeah.
the corner. We are on the
Okay.
corner,
You're the
and
mayor.
they are
I'm
next
the
to
mayor.
us. So the problem is with the code now. Actually, we have dirt coming down right now as it is into our property.
But this one is already built, right?
This one is already built. This is the neighbor that I'm just showing you what
But
it
it's on
would
the
look
property
like.
line.
Yeah, but it's on the property. So if we come 3 feet away and 3 feet away from the neighbor, we're still gonna get all the dirt coming down.
There's gonna be an opening.
There's gonna be an opening wide.
So I think maybe I can answer that. Maybe you should answer. But I think based on the code, whenever they build a new structure, they have to make sure that all the water gets retained in their own property. So you can't have, even if there's a gap, they have to come up with a way of blocking the water from coming to your property. So they can be higher. This is old, it's probably outdated, but if they're going to build it, this is not going to exist anymore.
This is our property, but you see, this is my property.
I
and
know this
going-
is your property, but
No,
based
no.
on what I was hearing, they
No.
have to,
Even if when you go 3 steps up, all the, my property, the property ends by the power lines. So you go up, and there is, we have about.
is this
I
your
think
property line?
No,
It's,
no, this is not on the property
few
line.
feet behind it.
So we are
how many feet?
about,
Few feet.
no, about 6, 7, I have a.
6, 7 feet behind this is your property?
Right, right. On top is the power lines. That's where the property line would be. Everything is on the plan there. So if we're leaving a gap between, the most thing that concerns me, if we leave a gap between us and the neighbor, first of all, and 3 feet forward, we were thinking of, it's not gonna look cohesive if you're putting a wall. We're gonna be further out than the neighbor, that's one. Second, all the dirt, again, with the gap, it's gonna come down. I don't know what the guy behind us is planning to do as far as I know there's gonna be a driveway there because his
garage is there.
his
Right, but
garage is on
based
that
on what
side.
I'm hearing, if you are about 5 or 6 feet in, if this is 5 or 6 feet into your property line, and then
I don't wanna build a wall where it is, obviously.
but
I wanna be able to go back.
I'm
to the
not sure
property
who's
line.
going to build a wall. I don't think you're building a wall.
Well, we spoke to,
Huh?
I don't
They
know
have
who-
to build a wall.
we spoke to Kings Point,
The other one is Kings Point?
Yes.
Ah.
So I don't
we
even,
spoke to them and they said they're not building a wall.
then
They're
I'm
not
not sure,
building a wall.
then I'm not sure what he's doing at this point.
So what
I
are
don't
they
even know
doing?
where he is.
Just building his driveway and
I don't know if he's.
And then what happens? Can they do that? I don't know.
The black fence is the neighbor, that's where I'm showing where the fence is, and that's what we wanna continue, because if we're putting a fence and it's further out, it just doesn't make sense, leaves a gap.
I understand what they're saying. And with the property and Kingston property and it's 3 feet.
5, 6 feet.
So you're gonna build
More.
right here, it's
Let me
gonna
ask
be,
you something, so
yeah.
you have,
Open up the dirt.
you said that you have the utility, you have
Wanna go
the power lines
backwards,
behind the
But
house.
they're not going to put a
So that means that you
drywall
have a
there?
utility
How-
strip
how-
that's running behind the house that,
To the property
Not-
line. to
Not
build the
behind
wall.
the house, it's on top of
Even if they,
between
even
our
if they
properties,
put up
between
drywall
village
right there,
and.
your
on
property,
their,
the
on the property line,
behind
they
the
still,
Correct.
there's a utility
5 feet away from
easement
them.
or strip that belongs, that comes through there.
Right.
I don't,
That you could build anything on that
I don't,
utility.
so,
That's why you have it the way you have it, that's why it's,
Well-
the wall is the way
they
it
want to
is.
move back?
no,
But
but
the neighbor next to
no,
us
it's
built-
not, the wall, this wall was, we've been in this house for almost 25 years. So it's been there.
No, it doesn't.
So the neighbor basically
He
built
built
it
right on the border.
Right on the border,
Right on
right on the.
easement that you're talking
yeah.
about, he built it
So,
there, so.
I don't, to me, the law is,
About
I
10 years
understand what
ago.
it says, but as long as there's, as you mentioned, there should be
10
some
years ago he built
exceptions that make sense. That's what I'm trying to figure out.
Right, so are they going to build a retaining wall? Is this continue going up?
No,
No, so this goes up and then it's flat toward
and
their house?
it's
This
flat.
is their property,
Okay,
this is Kings Point where they're building. This is the utility pole
okay.
that's between their property and theirs. So their retaining wall is somewhere
Here.
back in here. So they're looking to push it back more. I don't know if there's an easement there or not.
But our neighbor wanted.
But
to
why
build
would
it
you
right
want to
on
push
the-
it backwards?
To get more space in the backyard.
Well, if
Ah,
I'm
but then
fixing
you
it,
have to dig all this stuff and push it back, right? That's
If-
what you
if-
want to do? You
but
still
if
want
we're
to
fix the
fixing
wall,
it,
we
if we're
figured we
fixing
fixed it
it,
on
then it,
25.
yes, doesn't make sense to put it in the same place.
I don't know if there is an easement, but I just don't even know. How high is this wall?
I think it's like 4 feet,
This
I
is
saw-
4 feet? No.
or somewhere between, I think we
3 or
measured it.
4.
I sent mine out there.
Yeah.
yesterday.
But it should be,
That's good some height.
Those leaves report back to me, he went out yesterday when he went home, so tomorrow when Mike's in, I'll speak to Mike to see what did he determine when he was out there.
So you're doing it because you want to get more space?
There's different.
wanna fix the
Yeah, because
fence
it's
to
all
begin with,
rotted.
because it's all
To
rotted.
begin with.
I'm
But-
getting termites from it and stuff, so.
So if we're spending that money, we would
We
like
wanna
it to be done
not in the same
correctly
place, right.
also.
But then your dry well, I keep saying dry well, damn it.
Retaining wall.
Retaining wall, I don't know why. It's every time I want to, I don't know. If you're putting a retaining wall, that's going to be a 4 feet retaining wall on your property that you have to tie in or do something.
But they're lower.
They're lower, they're 4 feet lower.
The King's Point is a step retaining wall.
But they're saying that the Kings Point is not going to put a retaining wall.
I don't know what they are doing.
What's existing
have no
there
idea.
now, isn't it a stepped up?
No, they're saying that after this, everything is the same height.
No.
No?
It's like this. This is the wood. So within this, there is a space open that's now covered with bushes. There are 4 steps going up on top to the other property. Now, there is higher and lower now because of the construction he's doing. I don't know what he's planning to do. I have no idea. I don't know if it's his responsibility to put the retaining wall, which they told us no, but I have no idea.
I'll tell you what, tomorrow, I'll call over to the superintendent tomorrow. I'll
Okay.
get you an answer.
Yeah,
That
if
would
they
be
can
great.
put it in, then that's,
I mean,
there's all the
whatever
other
is-
issue, yeah.
You know,
But our neighbor, or he did, the one next to us, he built it. Yeah, but he built on it.
No, he didn't. If you look at his pictures, I have a copy, I don't have it with me tonight. I have it.
yeah, but then you know what's going to happen. I don't know if this is going to go higher.
Okay, I appreciate that. Okay.
Good.
This is a nice wall.
That's a nice one.
Well, I don't know, he had to do 2 steps going, because he sits
So
lower.
after this, there's another 2 steps until it gets
No.
flat?
No, from his property, not from ours. No,
I know,
ours is
from
gonna
here
be.
going, this is your property, that's his property.
Yes,
So from here, when you go up, it's level. From here, it's level.
Okay. Why don't we let the building superintendent take a look and
Yeah.
table this? It's late.
All right. To remove all of that, that's a lot of soil to remove. I know, but removing that and removing the soil is a huge difference. But okay, listen, I think, why don't you take a look, Steve, why don't you take a look, and you know what, we'll discuss it next week. I mean, whenever we meet next time, so at least he can give us some more information, maybe more pictures.
First of all, I gotta find if there's an easement.
Right,
There's need of utility, you can't build on their easement.
right. But they're not building, they're just pushing,
No, they can't build their retaining wall.
not even a retainer. Okay. All right. Yeah, right. Yeah.
Put up the minutes, Abraham.
Okay.
Yes, is it related to this or something else? Related to this, you said, Yafa?
I wanna ask a question
About this?
about my neighbors
2
doing
minutes, 2
construction and putting air conditioning that is
Okay, we're
in
gonna
the
get the public
closest
comment.
proximity to my bedroom and my kitchen, where I cannot open my windows anymore.
Okay,
So we're gonna give 2 minutes, so we've passed the
so we're
minutes
gonna be
and-
done in a few minutes. We have, let's just get on, finish the agenda and we get to you in a few minutes.
Okay.
Mayor, the next agenda item is the minutes of May 3rd. Moved by the deputy mayor, seconded by trustee Hope. All those in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous. And the next item is abstracts. Trustee Mendelson?
We're at 40%.
Right.
You
So that's
want me to
something-
check before I,
Yeah, so you get paid.
here, it has it on the, so this is what, so this is what we're total. Reimbursement rate divided by this, reimbursement rate divided, okay, wait, no, this is what we're talking about. So, architecture, we paid 123. That's what it says. Bill to date is 138. So we're not, okay. Okay. Okay, so one second.
Okay.
Thanks.
Okay, so, with the contract for the landscaping.
For Middle Neck Road,
Right,
Yeah.
I saw that came up, but there were no details on the contract, so,
it's the same as contract. This is just a down payment that he requested, and he already started the job. So this is just for the part of the contract that he has to fill in the soil and get basically the median bed ready for
Okay.
planting.
okay, so when it comes to the actual, plantings, is there a way, I know he can't guarantee it, but whomever he buys it from, can we get some sort of guarantee that if the plants don't flourish after being watered, that,
There
like
should be some warranty. They usually have
Home
warranty.
Depot gives something like that, where if it doesn't last for, a
Certain amount of
time.
days, yeah.
Yeah, so can we have something like that built in?
I will discuss it with him.
I don't
Okay.
think you can say a year.
No, well, not a year, but, I mean,
also
we
up
could
to us
see
to
what,
maintain.
It's not
some
Costco.
of the other,
Unless you buy it from Costco.
Right.
Give it back in it.
Milk. Could be considered
Yeah.
plastic water.
what a bargain.
Well, it's not milk. They give back flowers after a week.
Okay, that was one thing.
You've met my wife.
The audit, Sadie Levine.
Yes,
What is that? They're just,
that's our annual audit.
okay, so that's understood. And, okay.
It is two-third completed. The only thing they're waiting is what's called the OPIP, other than benefit, for the retirees.
I see,
That our deputy treasurer was working on it before he quit.
okay,
So that's where it's stalled right now.
okay, and, shreduction.
Yes.
So, I see there's an extra 100, what's that extra 100?
So the contract called for 900 when we approved it the night, 2 or 3 meetings ago.
I thought it was 800.
It was 900. Two years ago was 800, and when I spoke to him, he said, the price has gone up. For 4 hours, it'll be 900. And we agreed on a 900. And when he came, he had a copy of last year invoice, and he charged 800. Then I told him, I have a check for 900 because our contract was for 900. He said, no, it's only 800. So I gave him another check for 800, and then they came back and said, well, sorry, it was really 900. We made a mistake.
Okay, I have an objection to this, just because they didn't stay the full 4 hours.
Well, the
And-
guy was here like 15 minutes earlier also.
Oh, he was?
He was here like 2:45.
Who is this?
And
I
then,
also have to tell you, I'm sorry, Judy was there like 5 to 7. They took us to.
But I was there, I still have it in my trunk. I
I
was,
know, but she left the house and I was like, Judy.
I got stuck behind the car.
I'm like, you're really cutting it close, Judy. It was like 10 to 7, 9 to 7 when she left my house. And
It was a
then
busy day.
Then when you texted that he was gone, I said, oh, Judy, I guess you didn't get your stuff. And she goes, I didn't.
I was just shocked that he wasn't there, so I was going to suggest that I
Bart.
figured out how much it was per hour, so we would reduce it by $56, but
Oh my
if you
God.
don't want to, then I understand that.
That's
Okay,
all right.
that was one abstract, because I know we have,
I think we got a pretty good deal out of him, and the closest competitor was a 1600.
all right, so next time I'll get here a few minutes earlier. Okay.
You could always call me. I can pick it up from you.
I didn't, you know what, it was just a busy day that day.
Yeah.
Okay. What is G-Techna?
G-Tech, yeah.
Oh,
They have a $20,000 a year contract. They charge it in quarterly. Every quarter is $5,000, and then for every transaction they charge $3 for credit card. And almost all other states are free to look up the plate except for Pennsylvania. That costs $3 a plate to look up. So they agreed that we pay them. We don't get that many Pennsylvania plates, but the ones that we do get, to retrieve the address to send the summons, if they don't pay it, we have to pay $3 to collect whatever it is.
okay. All right, I make a motion to accept the abstract.
It's moved.
Abstracts have been moved and seconded by the Deputy Mayor. All in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous.
Is that for both abstracts?
Well, yes,
Okay,
the
great.
G-Techna was in the one, and the Flores was in the other.
Thank you.
Mayor, there are no more action items on the agenda, but there are two for your information items. One concerning Middle Neck Road surfacing, and the other the Memorial Day Parade. Did you wish to address those, or?
So the resurfacing will start again tomorrow. They will be milling from Old Mill Road through Clover Drive. Cedar Drive, I'm sorry. That's the second phase that we're doing it. It's going to take 3 days. They should be done by Friday afternoon. There is no parking between Old Mill Road and Cedar Drive. The signs will go up. There will be towing cars if there are cars parked there, and the village parking enforcement will issue summons if somebody is parked. Regarding the Memorial Day Parade, it will start on Monday, May 30th. We'll start at 9:30 at Susquehanna Avenue, south of the train station, and we'll end at the Village Green at the corner of Middle Neck Road and Beach Road. And the Middle Neck Road will be closed from 9 through 10:30 on both sides for the safety of the people in the parade.
I have a question. With the milling, I noticed that north of Hicks, it looks like they paved even the parking spots on both sides, on the east and west side
Which
of
one
Middle
are you
Neck.
talking about? Where? North of Hicks?
North of Hicks, but
Right.
south of Hicks, the parking spaces are all the old stuff. They never
Right.
repaved that. Why
No,
is
north of Hicks was always like that. I believe there was no concrete on the side.
Well, I spoke to them, and I was hoping that they can actually mill part of the concrete. And the response from Nassau County was that, first of all, it makes a lot of noise, it makes a lot of dust, and it can crack the concrete possibly, which is going because they have basins there. It can dislodge the basins, change the basin. I don't know why they did that from the beginning. They also said there may be something with the water level, how the water gets drained.
the pitch?
There was a lot of different reasons why. It doesn't look as good as if it was
It looks like
curb
they did
to
a
curb.
You would always get the reflection cracks through it anyway, even
Yeah.
if you paved over it.
No, the question is why they did that from the beginning. I mean, that was my question. Why can't we just remove everything and just put new? Listen, they were not going to do it.
So they probably with the heat, and, in the summertime, the cars park on it, they didn't want.
Yeah, but I know, but why there and not north and south? But their question was they don't know. It was something had to do with the engineering that they decided.
Later on.
Yeah, maybe it happened that they had to widen it after. Right, I don't know.
Public comment?
Comments? Yes. Yafa.
Name and address, please.
74 Radnor Road. My
Go
name
ahead.
is Yafa Rabe. So my neighbor house was sold about 3 months ago, and somebody bought it, obviously for the reasons of reconstruction, renovation, and reselling it already. It's already in the market.
Okay.
So good luck with all the renovations indoors. I have no problem, and I really would love to have neighbors that have beautiful houses. However, they just installed today 2 huge unit of compressors for air conditioning. We are on a small lot, we are 56 by 100. So I know that I was explained that they're doing legal work. However, I can't understand why it should be legal that their air conditioning will be so close to my bedroom where I will not be able to sleep anymore, and definitely will not be able to open my windows in the summertime because 2 huge compressors are from the distance of closer than you and me,
Okay. What does
much
the code?
closer.
So what does the code say?
60
You have to be
decibels.
5 feet from the side yard towards the rear of the house. This is 7 or 8 feet off the property line. That is
Meaning it has to be
Drive-
5 feet to the property line?
From the property line.
from the property line.
Right, okay.
So the house comes down and jogs in, and that's where they set the air conditioning units towards the rear. So it's about 7, 8 feet from the property line. Then is 74 Radney's driveway, and then her house. So she's saying it's too close to her window, but it meets the code.
What are the,
Well,
Also, the decibel level.
yeah, what's the decibel level of the air
It's a
conditioning?
split line unit. They're very, very quiet.
very quiet is not, because
there
today they
screening?
tried.
It was
Screening?
just put in today, so they have to put screening.
Oh,
in,
so
yes.
the screening may dampen it,
Yes.
Well, I must say that I don't understand who designed this code, because I think the people buy houses to have some peace of mind. And if I want to open my window, I don't have to have 2 huge compressors there. I have a very long, very narrow driveway, and I use the end of my driveway as my recreation area. I don't even have almost a backyard. So, I mean, where am I? I lost my backyard, I lost my recreation area, I can't open my windows, and I can't sleep. So why am I being punished for my neighbor to have a nice renovated house?
First of all,
I live here 30 years. I never had an issue like this. And everybody in the neighborhood has either in the back their air conditioning. Some
Isn't
of
this
them,
in the back of the house?
is it in the back of the
Towards
house?
the back of the house.
no, it's on the
Inside.
side of the house. It's not
The
on the back of
neighbor-
the
It has to
house.
be 5 feet off the property.
yeah, we allow them.
Right. I thought we allowed only in the back of the house. It can be on
No,
the side also?
Yes.
It can be on the side, but toward the back.
Right. You have to be
It is
minimum
not towards
10
the
feet
back.
from
I
front
have
of
the
house.
picture.
Wait, huh?
How many
Minimum,
feet?
if the front wall is here, you have to be minimum 10 feet back on the side.
Okay. But it can be on the side. It doesn't have to be on the rear
And these
yard.
units are relatively quiet, and
Yes.
what's much louder than these units are window units. Somebody didn't put these in, but in window units, they're much louder.
Excuse me, I'm sorry?
Window units are louder than these compressors.
Well, my window units are not there. My window units are in the back
No,
of
if
my
your
house.
neighbor put up window units
I
instead,
understand, but
you'd be listening to more.
they had window units. They never bother me.
So Yafa, I think
This won't
if
bother
the
you
if
after
the if the code allows it, meaning the code's been there for way before us. I mean, we didn't come up with the code. Whoever came up with the code, 2011.
That's
when
not
the
much. No, that's not much, because I tell you.
Yafa, listen, one second. We didn't come up with the code,
No, I understand that.
but the code is the code.
I understand that too. I
So
mean,
they're allowed to
What
have
what
it.
do you expect us to do?
somebody made inconsiderate kind of a code without checking what will be the result
Right.
for
So
the
in
next door neighbor.
2011, I can assure you that the units that existed were much louder than the units that exist today. I'm not disagreeing with you that these units make noise. Some people are more sensitive. Some people are they're less sensitive. I understand what you're saying. We also have to understand that we are not above the code. The law allows them to have it where they're having it. What you can ask them and what we can ask them is to possibly, and they have to still screen it, and hopefully that screening will even dampen the sound a little bit more. I can't really, you can't expect us, and we can't, by law, and please correct me if I'm wrong, Peter, that to say even though it's within the code, even though you're putting it in the right place, but we want to tear it down because Yafa doesn't like it.
It's not that Jaffa doesn't
But
like
that's
it.
what it is.
But it,
Yeah, hold on, I just wanna ask one thing. I understand these are split units. These are compressed parts.
I don't know what it is. I don't have air
I just
conditioning.
wanna,
I have one
and
unit.
I just wanna mention one thing. I have split units on the side of my house, and I don't know that they're on when I'm standing right next to them. Sometimes I have to look
Okay,
at
so
it.
this is not because they tried them, and I was in my kitchen, and my window was open, and I had a very big, nice noise, and that was one unit only.
So
Can
maybe
you
they were
imagine
trying
both of
to,
them
I don't
working
know.
at the same time?
They'll be installed today, they're not screened yet, the job's not complete yet, they still have to screen it.
I wish I could do something, but even if I change the code today, it's still not going to help you.
But it is amazing. I literally can stand next to the units on the side of my house. I have no idea
I
if
Because
they're
you-
invite
on
all
or
of you
not.
to come and
because you're
listen to the
colorblind.
unit so you understand what I'm talking about. So, I mean, you know what?
No, you can't, they don't even invite, like, you can't talk.
Yeah, no, I invite you, and
I'm
I
looking
will
at the
bring you
fan.
even coffee there. But the point is that even if even if it's a legal code, it doesn't have consideration for the neighbor.
Yafa, I totally, and I hear what you're saying. I
It's the
totally
code.
hear
They're
what
in
you're
accordance
saying.
with code then.
But it's the code. Someone's doing, if someone went to, let's say, ARC and got some kind of a waiver from them, you could argue that why did our, the Architectural Review Board gave him an okay to put their units on the side. It bothers me.
Two
That I
units?
understand.
Two
But
units? Why not one? I
even
don't
5
understand.
units. Maybe they want to put in 5 units. If the
Oh,
code
they're
allows
allowed
them.
to do as many as they want?
If the code allows them, the code allows them. It's like you tell me, I don't want you to drive 30 miles per hour, even the code allows you because I don't like it or it scares me. I don't want people to drive by my house by more than 20 miles an hour. It doesn't matter. I can. There are a lot of things I don't like necessarily. We can either change a lot of the codes or live by
Okay,
them.
so what do I have to live by misery now?
I think
Honestly,
you should
Maybe,
wait.
maybe just wait and see.
Yeah.
Since 2011, I can't remember anybody.
none of my neighbors have it on the side. Everybody
I
has
just
it
have
on
to
the
tell
back.
you, since 2011, 11 years, I don't think I've ever heard anybody come here and complain that their neighbor's side air conditioning unit is making too much
Well,
noise.
I said-
It's a big nothing. I'm telling you.
No,
Wait
but-
till you see.
Okay,
Wait till
well,
you see.
can we at least make sure that they have a box it or something like this? This is
They have to screen it.
They have to screen it.
screen is what? It's like having a bush around it?
Yeah, that helps.
Well, a tall enough bush so that it dampens the sound.
Yeah.
You know, there have
I
been.
think you should, Yafa. Why don't you wait and see, and then we'll
No,
address it.
I feel like I'm being abandoned and I'm being
Abandoned?
Yes.
We just told
This
you that
is
the
the
code
code
is the
they
code.
code.
I know, but
So who's abandoning you?
the code doesn't give me rights, only to the person
Okay,
who
so I
wants
want to
do the
ask you.
work.
I'm going to ask you a question. Do you think this board has the ability to say, we don't agree with this code, tear it down? Do you think we can do that?
You do a lot of things. You do a lot of things.
A lot of people are
Sitting
think that.
here and asking
Yeah, but
questions.
I do a lot of things per code, and I have the council here to advise us if we
I
can or
know.
not. I'm asking you, can we go ahead and ask them, even though you build per code, we want to take it out?
No, sir, I think I understand your point, which is that just because someone has the right to do something doesn't make it right that they're doing it. But unfortunately, the board can only deal with, did they have the right? And they do.
Well, my question is why, at the begin with, the board would give, not you, I understand, a right to start
I
construction.
don't think this board could answer why some other board in 2011 passed the law the way they did.
Well, we should revise it. I mean, I'm lost already. I'm going to
Right.
move out of Great Neck.
But
because
even if we
this place
revised it, we still couldn't make somebody take it out.
It's just,
Correct.
I can't believe what I live here. It's terrible. Everything is deteriorating. And it's very, very hard to accept that because I live here 30 years and I feel that it's becoming a slum. And it's not right. It doesn't feel good.
They're building a
doesn't
new
feel
house
good.
next to your house. I don't think
It
that's a
sounds like
slum. But
Excuse me?
It the new house they built next to your house?
You should see all the wires hanging. You should see a huge pole of electricity that they put a huge box of power. Everything is outside. And now they put the 2 units, and it looks like a factory. It doesn't look like a house. And all the wires boxed around. It's all in front of me.
I don't know if that's according to code. Are they leaving all those wires hanging outside?
They have permits for everything they have. Mike has been there, Chris has been there, everything's permitted. If something is not right,
I don't know what to tell you, Yafa.
Well, I'm telling you that definitely there are things that should change, and yeah, you can vote changes. I'm not saying about me. I'm lost.
I take a look. I mean,
Story, but there are other people here, and they should be really living a peaceful life.
What's the zone in that area? Is it zone C? Okay, it's zone C. How big are the properties?
56 by 100.
56 by 100?
Yes.
I'm just
It's a
curious.
I mean,
small
you
city.
also have to realize where can they otherwise put it?
In the back. Or on their side, on their kitchen and bedroom. Why on my side?
But then other side is
There's
going to
another
complain.
neighbor.
No, they put the other neighbors. Speaking of retaining walls, they box themselves completely
Okay, we're not
with
talking about
high
that now.
fences.
Okay.
What's the address, Yafa?
My address, 74 Radnor.
Okay.
And the other property is 72 or 73?
Yeah, 72.
All right, we'll take a look. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Any other public comments? Yes, Jean.
You knew that was.
I have two things. As we're talking about codes, what are you going to do about North Road? The code was broken on Sunday with the 13 trees removed, another code broken without a permit. Is the property owner going to be replacing those 13 trees? What's the status on it? A lot of our neighbors are very, very upset about it. He has, since I complained to the building department first thing on the Monday morning, he has fenced the property because it was a danger. You've got 2 buildings with no windows. Squatters could be in them, go into them. The property has been fenced off with chain link fence finally, so that's an improvement. The naked man has been taken out of the window. That's another improvement. Yes, raise your eyes about that one.
What?
they had a 6
Oh,
foot
wasn't me.
cardboard cutout of a restaurant.
Naked man with a little brief on him, yes. Yeah, but
So,
joking aside, though, you talk about codes, and with this property owner blatantly disregards the codes. He knows. Oh, also you can add the one on Arundel Avenue, the tree that was removed from there. Not, not only on a Sunday, broken code again. Tree workers on a Sunday, broken code. But it was village property. It was a village tree that cost $500 that he removed. Is he going to replace that or pay back the village?
so first off, there was summonses issued for the tree that was removed on Arundel.
Okay.
And after that, the trees that were removed on North, summonses were issued for each and every tree that was removed there as well. So they have a court date. I really can't discuss anything further with the court date because it's.
There you go.
You're very flippant about it. A
I'm
lot of
not
us
flippant
neighbours
about
are very upset about this because it's blatantly disregarding the
I am not
village
being
rules.
flippant about it. Summonses were issued.
But when you just, the way you said it, there you go, like, you're
No,
done,
but
finished. I'm sorry.
You know, one thing you have to realize, this board, I know in other villages, the mayors go out and give tickets. I have not written a ticket. Maybe I should start writing tickets. Maybe the board should start writing tickets, but we don't write tickets. We have code enforcement, we have the building department, and they take care of it. You ask the question, what is being done about it? You know, we don't go, this is not Wild West. We don't have guns to go shoot people. We wait for the law to take effect. They give summons. That's what we do. Some people pay it, some people don't. And then we go to court, and the judge decides. I'm not
No,
a judge, neither
that
is
is
this
what I'm
board.
asking. Will the,
Right, so
when you
of
issue
course-
summonses, sometimes they're just,
But
you know,
we issue
let go.
summonses. We issue summonses. We don't arrest people.
well, we know that.
Right.
Come on, you-
So when you ask what is done, we do what we can do. The building department issues
he
summonses.
answered my question.
Right.
You
I-
said
we
you've
took care
issued
of it
summonses.
We took care of it immediately, we issued summonses. Once the summonses are issued, it goes to the
It
court.
has to
and
go
then
to
it's
the
in-
court.
Then it's in the court's hands and the judge's hands.
Well, if he doesn't pay it, then can he get a building permit? If he doesn't pay his summons?
No, you
No.
can't get any building permit if
Okay.
you have anything pending.
That
in
was
court.
the next thing. As I say, he can't continue in any way to continue with whatever he's going to do with that corner until the summonses have been taken care of. That's correct. Right, thank you. Okay. The other thing is this landscaping. I know I asked last time about it. I understand, I did mention last time boxwoods with the snow ploughing and the snow sitting and the salt and chemicals that the village uses, it affect the boxwoods. I understand he is going to use boxwoods.
There are some boxwoods, yes. I think from what I remember, there were some boxwoods, yes.
They're going to use boxwoods and cherry trees.
And it's not only boxwood. There were like, I don't know how many items were there. There were like about 15 different items.
There will be others, okay?
Yeah.
And when this particular company, it was costing $35,000 was the contract?
Something like that, yeah. For the labor.
Excuse me?
For the labor,
Just for the labor?
yes.
Yes. And the village will pay for, he is going to be ordering the shrubbery, etc.
What we pay for it, right.
And you pay for that separate.
Mm-hmm.
So is this a way of not going out to bid by saying
No,
35?
this is a way of, I
Well, wait,
don't
let me
like when you
finish.
start, okay, no, because I know where you're going. And I
No,
don't
you
like where you
don't.
go. I do. I've known
No,
you for
I'm
7
asking a
years or more.
question.
I tell you what the answer is. The answer is the reason we're doing it that way is because we're tax exempt. And if we go ahead and hire somebody, then it's going to become very complicated to pay for certain things without a tax, certain things with the tax. You have to calculate this and that. And then this way, we're cutting the middleman. So what's going to happen, instead of me asking you to order it, and then you probably get a percentage because you're ordering it, and then I have to pay you, and then I have to pay you the taxes because you are paying them and you're not tax exempt, but then I have to take the taxes away, then you probably, it makes it more complicated.
That wasn't the question I was going to ask you.
So, no, you asked, are we doing it because we don't want to go through the
no.
bid?
If
We don't
it's
have to go through the
if
bid
it's
for the trees.
35,000 for one part, by buying separately the plants, even though the landscaper's going to be ordering them,
We pay for it though.
you pay for
Directly.
you're paying for it separate. So
Not to the landscaper.
no, I know, but that amount added on with the 35 would then be how much? Say 60, 70,000, whatever, 80,000. Shouldn't it have gone out to bid?
Okay.
Especially, and I am going, you say you know what I'm going to say, but the fact that it is your landscaper, it's like a little conflict of interest, you see. So
Really?
that's why, oh yes.
How is that a conflict of interest? The guy came
Because-
out for significantly less than everybody else.
It's not a question of significantly less. How many, was it advertised when it went out to bid?
Yes.
It was advertised.
Did you advertise it?
Gene, you have to go through. a
Wait.
procurement process.
Abraham's gonna,
We called multiple places to give us quotes, at least
Okay.
5 different places. Only 2 of them are willing to give us a quote at the end of the day. Nobody wants to work.
great, Megan.
And what was the other one?
100 and something thousand.
160.
Maybe we should have taken
Yeah.
that one, so it's not a conflict of interest.
One of them was 167, one of them was 180.
Yeah, what do you think?
No, I'm
No,
sorry.
I'm asking you a question. Should we take in one of those, so it's not a conflict of interest?
It's, you,
No, I
You
want to
know,
know what your answer is, because
it's
I'm very
just that
interested
when
to
it's a
know.
member of the board and they give a job to somebody
It's not my son
that works
or my
for
cousin.
them. Oh, well, I know that.
He doesn't work for me only. I don't own the company.
Well, the thing is,
I
if
believe
the
that
mayor-
when you do this and you can save the taxpayer significant amount of money, that's my duty, right? It's my duty to make sure that you don't pay more than you should. So when I find someone who's maybe working for me, why should that be a conflict of interest?
It's just that over 60 years of being in the village, coming to meetings, the board, if it's, they've always reclused themselves or,
But even if he
So we'll let it
recused
go.
himself, the rest of us all voted for it, because we saw the difference in the,
but as long as
in
I
the
know it
bids.
was put out to bid and you, like you say, you've had five, you approached five companies you sent out, and I really hope there is a contract with warranties of something, because it is a large amount of money, and he
Well,
is
you
not
heard us-
going to water, it's
yeah,
going to be
you-
up to the village to water.
Right, but you heard us ask earlier, you know, that we have some sort of guarantee, you know, for, that we're asking from the,
Well, it
lands-
should be already written down in the contract, the guarantee.
But they're not, the landscaper isn't the same person who's buying it, we're buying it ourselves, so that we
Well,
get some
that
money.
won't work, because if they don't, if they die or anything, the person you bought them from is going to say, we can't guarantee because we don't know the landscaper that put them in. He
Well,
might
it
not have put
depends
them
on-
in properly.
You're making an
Who
assumption.
watered them? They didn't water
All right.
them properly, so that
Gene,
won't.
when you buy from Home Depot, they guarantee it. They don't ask you who's installing it. They just sell it to you, and if it dies, they exchange it. They're
Not
pretty good
always.
about it.
Andy, when we buy, even when we buy the trees, the nursery doesn't guarantee even the trees that I buy.
Yeah,
They just
because
You're
they
making a
don't know if
mistake.
they're
For
going to
so
be
many
watered
years-
and
Buying
taken
them-
care of.
Louis,
wholesale,
for so
and
many
they don't
years you've been
guarantee
making a
it.
No.
mistake. For so many years you've been making a mistake.
For so many years, I'm making a mistake.
Yeah, you should make him guarantee. So from now on,
That'd
please make
be,
sure that
never
they
do that, Louis.
It's not right.
They don't. Nursery, they don't. Home Depot do.
Yeah, but you know something with Home Depot, first of all, you pay more expensive, and the quality is not as good. So, you know, I buy, we're not buying anything from, where do I buy things from?
Where are we getting the
Where's
plants
this
from?
nursery?
I
It's
don't know.
called Hicks.
You don't
I
know?
buy things from Hicks. I make sure we
looking for
don't
the
buy
contract.
anything from
Excuse
Hicks.
me?
I'm looking for the contract. I'm looking for the email. I can't find it.
Well, if he's putting in cherry trees, etc., which he said he's going to be doing,
Also,
you must know where they're coming from.
also, Gene, there's a certain procurement policy that the state sets up that you just can't buy stuff just because that's what you wanna buy. You have to go out and do the responsible thing and get at least, depending on the dollar amount, you have to get maybe two or three, some of them are verbal, some of them are written quotes, and then you can go ahead and set up your, as this would be considered a public works contract. So as long as the price is within that
Yeah,
procurement
sure.
policy, they can go ahead and buy whatever the goods that they're looking for. So if they broke the procurement policy up into two pieces, one being labor and one being, goods, then you can do that.
Okay.
There's nothing wrong with that.
But which
Am I
company are
correct?
you using
For what?
for the plants and the trees?
I don't remember.
You don't remember?
What's the company that we're going to buy the nursery? What's the name of the nursery? Right, okay. Right, the amount. Okay, okay.
So you haven't ordered anything yet?
Topsoil, that was, the contract 2 weeks ago was for the labor putting the topsoil.
Yeah.
And prepared the,
And we
Prepared the
ordered-
beds.
We decided up to how much. The board voted for up to how much we're going to order for the shrubberies and the trees. So we're going to
So
see
you
which
have
one
to
we-
decide next where you want to order them
Wherever
from.
we're going, right. So the question is, do you think I should not buy anything from that nursery if we order from anything from that?
What nursery?
Whatever nursery we order things from?
You don't know which one you're ordering
If
from.
I order from a nurse, should I order from a nursery that I order things from, or I should not do that?
You know what I'm saying.
No, I don't.
But
Because you know what you're saying,
It's,
actually, you know what,
it's
you know,
kind of
we have,
mishmash. You're
we have
doing
a few-
such a huge
you
job.
see,
This is a
you
very
have to
big
realize one
job.
thing, yes.
And it's a
It's
very
our
expensive
fiduciary
job, and it has to be
responsibility.
done right.
Jean, it's
You
our
don't
fid-
even know where you're ordering them from,
when we order
and
it,
it's
when we
already
order it,
going to
we'll
be
know.
June.
When we order it, we'll know.
You haven't picked out a place
Why don't
yet.
you set
It's
up
going to
a
be
meeting
hard.
by plants?
It's all right.
It's
So-
going to be
okay.
hard to order things.
All right.
They're
Well,
going to
it's
be
gonna
out.
happen. It's going to happen soon.
Whatever.
All right. Anyone else has any comments? Anyone wants to say what we can or should not do?
Is there a motion to adjourn?
It is facetious because you're saying, you know what, Gene, you have to realize one thing. When I took this job, I'm taking it seriously. She's looking at $56 to save, right? Right. And we all do. But then when we have people come and give us quotes, and we see someone's quote is significantly less, if that person works for me, I have two options based on what you're saying. Either I should not hire that person because he works for me, or I should fire him working for me because I don't want to have a conflict of interest. Right? Does that make sense to you?
You haven't hired. How can you fire him before you've hired him?
No, I can fire. I can tell him don't work for me anymore because you're working for the village. Can I do that? Is that a fair thing to do to me? Because I have someone that I like that works for me that actually happens to be a very good landscaper, right? Well, you can say your opinion, right? Whatever it is. Not only he's a nice man, he has done very well for many of the neighbors. He does the entire block, not only my block, the next block. I'm sure if someone's not good, not everyone's going to hire him. And it's not very cheap, at least not for me, right? So I don't think if he comes out with a number that is significantly less, it's our responsibility, the board's responsibility, to hire someone who has done a good job for the neighbors, who works locally, who we know, who's going to give us a much better price. It did go out, and yes, it did go out, and you can,
He asked for a quote, we send out the bids.
right, right.
He's asking to put out the bid proposal, but he's not.
No, because it was less than what it was. I don't need to do that. It was less than 35,000 or 30, whatever it is. 30. I think his came out to about 34,000.
Yes.
Anybody second? Bid is different.
The motion at the time, my memory is that that's the
But you
case,
don't
yes.
need to if it comes less.
It passed.
You're confusing
We got
the words.
quotes. We got quotes from people.
You go out to bid. There's no bid. You signed a procurement policy that fell within the guidelines
Right.
of how much you're spending per
Right. So
item
we
of
got
what you're
quotes.
spending.
Right.
But if it was bid, you would have went out to published it in the.
Right.
paper.
If it would
But
be
you
higher, didn't
feel
need to
you
bid it.
weren't required to do that because of the monies that
That's
was
right.
involved.
Right.
So you just had to get I assume three quotes because of the dollar value.
Right. Right. And that's what we did. Anyway, anyone else has a comment? Going once, twice, three times, move to adjourn. All right. Thank
Okay.
you.